Tech by Tips.
Welcome to another Tech by Tips video. In today's video, we're going to continue our series of open source, good or bust, and we're going to cover an application that was requested in the channel. This application is named Pterodactyl, and as we can see, here's their website, it's pterodactyl.io, and it says that it's a free and open source game server management panel that is built with PHP, React, and Go, and it's designed with security in mind. And Pterodactyl runs all the games in isolated Docker containers. So that's really good. I mean, it allows you to run game servers in Docker containers, so everything is isolated. That's nice. And it gives you a UI to manage it and to the end users. So that looks good. Let's see what else we have here. It says that they are using good quality encryption here and HTTPS for the connections, that they are using a modern stack, which is PHP, React, and Go, and they are using Docker as the core of the whole system. That makes sense. It's good, it's useful, and it is free and open source. That's also a plus. User friendly. So they're saying that the user interface allows you to do a lot of things in an easy, seamless way, and it is scalable. So you can use it if you're hosting a game hosting company. So, and then we have a few screenshots here of what the application looks like. This is the panel for the application where you manage all the stuff, and you can see a lot of details here of things that you can do. Like you can see an install script here, you can see configurations, you can see a lot of stuff. So it seems useful. Let's see what else we have. That's basically the base of the home page. So let's get to the meat and cover this. So Pterodactyl, as I can see here, let's go into the documentation. It's mainly used to run specific games. Most of them I would say are kind of niche games like Minecraft, Rust, Terraria, Team Fortress, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Garry's Mod, and Ark Survival Evolved. I think Mumble and TeamSpeak are the communication platforms for people to talk while they're gaming. It's like similar to Discord. So actually 2 out of those are just not games, are something else. But there's pretty famous games here that you see people streaming in Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that, like Minecraft, Rust, and Counter-Strike and Ark Survival Evolved. But as you can see, they're not very demanding games. They're not very high-end games. And it says, in addition to our standard nest of supported games, our community is constantly pushing the limits of this software and adding more games to the community. And they're mentioning things like Factorio, San Andreas multiplayer, Pocket Mine multiplayer, Squad, 5M, Sonotic, and other things. So as you can see, the amount of games that you can host with this is actually pretty limited. And that's one of the reasons why I determined that, to me, it wasn't worth it for a regular person to go through this. It does make sense if you're running a business. For example, you're letting people rent servers from you, right? In that case, it makes sense. You can use this, deploy a Docker container that you can easily delete when you don't need it so that people can use it. So in that case, yeah, it sounds like a good opportunity there that you have. And we go in here into the about, we can see more information about who are the people developing this. It has a nice group of people here, sponsors. Obviously, I would think that this would be sponsored because, like I said, this is more geared towards companies that are trying to host this and they need an easier way to manage the servers that they're selling to people. So that makes sense. They have 6 different server hosting sponsors. So that's good. I'm happy that they got sponsors. And this is under the MIT license. It's open source. Okay, what else can we see here? Here it talks about the terminology because, like I was mentioning, this I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it has several components. There's a Pterodactyl panel, which is the actual user interface basically that allows you to add nodes and servers to the system. And they have the node, which is a physical machine that runs an instance of Wings, and that's important. This is one of the containers that you have to run Wings. It specifies that Wings is the newer service that interfaces with Docker and the panel to secure access for controlling the servers via the panel. So you need Wings if you want to be able to deploy those servers, basically. Then they have the server, which is the running instance that is created by the panel, so that is another container, I would assume. These servers are created on nodes, and you can have multiple servers per node. Nest is another thing that they have, which is a way for them to have like images of specific services or games. So they pre-made some images of containers that then they can use to deploy what you need. I'm sorry, that's not the nest, that's the egg. So the nest is where you put all those eggs, and this is to store the configuration for a specific game. And yolks are a collection of the Docker images that are to be used by Pterodactyls. Here they give you an example of what the setup looks like. You have your panel, and then let's say you're a company that is trying to host the servers for people that rent it. You might have a data center with, I don't know, let's say 50 machines, for example. And each machine is a node, and then in each machine you have a certain amount of containers that you can run that are the actual servers that you're renting to people, and those are the containers. Pretty nifty, pretty well thought of and organized. And here it tells you how the things work. You have a panel machine, which is like the brain of the system, and you have a node machine, which is the worker node, basically. So the panel machine is in charge of all the configuration, all the data, and letting the worker nodes know what they have to do. And that panel has a web server that serves you the user interface of the panel, has a Redis server, and it has a MySQL database. So that's to store information about the system. And the node machines basically have wings, and panel connects with wings to let it know, okay, you need to run X, Y, and Z. And then it builds a Docker container for that server that you are running. So it's kind of like an orchestration system for games, something similar to Kubernetes, but made specifically for gaming. So you have a panel section that tells you how to get started. You have a wings section that tells you how to run wings. So basically you need these two no matter what. You need the panel that controls everything, and you need wings for your nodes to be able to deploy the server. And it tells you how to set up panel. You have an option here of they run on Linux no matter what. So you have Ubuntu, CentOS, or Debian. You pick whichever you want. And then they give you examples here of how to install any dependencies that you need. They give you all the code that you execute in your Linux command, and how to download any files that are necessary here for the application. So that's the panel code that you need to extract and put somewhere. And it also has the process for installing the system. This requires you to have a database, so you have to install a database, set up a user, set up everything for that, but at least all the instructions are here. And once you do that, then you set up your environment, etc. It tells you about the queue listeners that you have to configure. So there's a lot of stuff to be configured, and all of this configuration for the panel seems to be done directly in a Linux host, not in a Docker container or anything like that. So you would have to have a dedicated Linux machine to run this, which is another reason why I didn't want to do this video, because I think it's unnecessary for the average person. This is only for mainly geared towards companies, which don't have a problem with doing this and spending the time on learning and maintaining that. But a regular person would not. This would be too much for a regular person. And then it tells you about how to configure the web server here. You have several options. You can use Apache, you can use Nginx, you can use Caddy. There's several options. All the information is here to set it up, and any additional configurations that you need for the server. And you have the option to how to update the panel once you have it installed. They have information on how you troubleshoot regular issues that happen with it. So I'm happy that they actually have a pretty good documentation on things like this. That's really good. Yeah, that's basically it for the panel. For Wings, again, the same thing. For you to run this, you need to have Linux. You see, Windows basically says it's not supported. You have to use Ubuntu, CentOS, or Debian for this, and it basically follows the same pattern as with panel. You have to follow a series of steps here, execute scripts to install things like Docker and all other dependencies, and then you have to actually do the installation of Wings from the package that they have in GitHub. And then you have to configure that. As you can see, once again, this is too much for the average person. So that's why this is geared 100%, in my opinion, to companies that make money doing it. And it gives you information about setting up configurations, how to upgrade Wings, how to migrate to another version of Wings, and any other additional configuration that you might need to do. So that's pretty well documented. And then there's some tutorials here on setting up the MySQL database. So if you have not done that, you can come here and follow the instructions to set that up. And if you need the SSL certificates, obviously, because they say that everything runs on SSL, you need to be able to grab your SSL certificates, most likely from let's encrypt, and they're using certbot for that, and they give you all the details here that you need. So I mean, at least the documentation is decent, it's good. Definitely companies that want to use this sort of system will benefit from it. It'll make it a lot easier for them to manage their infrastructure and the services that they provide to the people that rent the servers. You have to take into consideration that you probably need to have pretty strong machines to run this, because you're running containers that are going to be the whole server that you're renting to the person, right? And let's say, for example, a Minecraft server, which is a game that doesn't actually require a lot of resources. You can host it, for example, in a Raspberry Pi. But if you're going to have a good amount of people, you're going to need a pretty chunky server. So you're talking about here maybe servers that at least have 4 CPUs and 8 gigabytes of RAM. Definitely it's some amount of resources that I don't expect the typical person at home to be able to throw at something like this. So that's another reason why I said, okay, this is definitely not for regular users. This is for dedicated people that are trying to make a business out of it. But the application seems decent. The use for it is decent. It's just that I wish that they had more games available, because as it is, the amount of games that you can run is actually pretty small. It's very niche. And even though they're doing a great job of it, because I see that, you know, they're doing a great job, they have sponsors, it would be great if they had access to other types of game servers to offer, right? Now, veredict is a good application for business use case, but for a regular person, it's a bust. It's something that is too complicated, requires too many resources for a regular person just to host a Minecraft server or something like that. That's what I wanted to cover. I already mentioned this in a comment to the person that requested the video, but I thought it would be fair to make a video covering the application, what the benefits of it are, what things are doing good, what things it could improve on, and the limitations of it, right? Because it is a good application, it's useful, but only to a very subset of people, I would say. But yeah, if you're interested in it, all the documentation is there. It's easy for you to do it. Just be aware that you have to commit a full, at least, 2 or 3 good machines for this to run efficiently, for you to be able to do something useful with it. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. I just wanted to thank you very much for being here. I hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Suggest things that you would like to see covered in the channel in the comments below, and I'll add it to the queue and review it, and I'll make a video installing or explaining things, or least case I'll do a open source good or bust about the application. And yeah, remember, I do not monetize this channel. I rely entirely on your support. If you like the content, feel free to donate using the link in the description below. And that's gonna be it for this one. It's already pretty long. I'll see you in the next video. Take good care.